All right. Again, welcome everyone. Super excited to be moderating this panel. We're focused, the topic is Career Spotlight, a place for everyone in cybersecurity, possibilities in this space. I am excited, super excited actually, to introduce you to our esteemed panelists, Susan Lam, as well as Ni E, who I've known for some time. Just before we start, I think it may be worth just providing kind of an overview of what ICMCP does, while we wait for others to join us. And so I'm going to defer to you, Madeline, for that. Before we actually start, I'll introduce the panel and then we'll dive right into the panel discussion.
I can actually take that while we're waiting. Okay. My name is Sharon Burgess. I'm the National Vice President for ICMCP, and I also sit on our board. And just as a highlight, the ICMCP Engage program is designed for us to highlight the different types of talents and skills, and the diversity of thought and leadership within the cybersecurity space. Of course, our ICMCP program and our mission is to achieve the consistent representation of women and underrepresented minorities in cybersecurity through programs designed to foster recruitment, inclusion, and retention. So these programs like ICMCP Engage were able to highlight all the different types of skills, representation within the industry, and bringing wonderful speakers who are great security practitioners like Susan and Ni to share with you guys their experiences is what we're trying to do through our Engage program and highlighting more of this talent as part of ICMCP as a whole. So I guess that's a quick overview. Turn it back over to you, Ty, and we can go ahead and get started.
All right, excellent, Sharon. You've done a far better job doing that than I can possibly even dream of. So thank you very much for that. All right, so again, welcome everyone. I am super excited. Again, I don't think I can say it enough how super excited or super excited I am about being able to moderate this panel. So I would like to introduce you to Susan Lam, who is currently the VP. I want to make sure I don't bastardize her title, Security Risk and Compliance at Fiserv. As well as Ni E, who is the partner at AIT Group LLC. I'm probably not going to be able to do enough justice to introducing them, but I'm still going to try, and then I'll let them actually introduce themselves properly. So I'll start with Susan. So I met Susan. It was actually a panel discussion that we did. I'm sure she does many, but this is probably one of many that she does. And it was actually at the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. And this was November 2017, so roughly 3.5 years ago. And the funny thing is that day was actually my first day working as a full-time employee at the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. Long story, we probably don't have enough time to go over why I ended up there. But I started the job and I spent half the day doing orientation, like you normally do with most companies. And then in the afternoon, after lunch, I was downstairs at the facility. The panel was moderated by Corey Thomas, who's the CEO for Rapid7, who actually reached out to me and said, hey, Ty, Boston, the city of Boston is coming to Atlanta. Would like to host a panel on cybersecurity, and I'd love for you to be a panelist. And then he said, do you know anybody else that may be interested? So Susan was on the panel, I was on the panel, and then I also invited Sharon Burgess, who's obviously with us, as well as Chad Hunt, who runs is the supervisory special agent at the FBI field office in Atlanta. But fast forward a couple of maybe months or maybe a year or two after that, the employer Susan was working for at the time, and I think she may have been long gone, had a major security breach, which was basically, national news, international news, etc. But I remember some of the points she made on the panel, security, a lot of that really, really resonated. So even though I've only known her 3.5 years, I have very high regard for her and, as a thought leader and as a visionary in our industry. So that's my introduction of Susan, right? Nee, we go back 16 years. I founded an institute for security leaders, and I always blame Nee for helping me bootstrap that institute and being one of the folks that had, pretty much allowed me to run the very first class, which was hosted at Georgia Tech. So the HISP Institute wouldn't have happened without a friend like Nee. Not only has he been a friend for about 16 years, he's also been a mentor, even though I don't tell him he is. But every time I feel stuck and I need somebody to be honest with me, I call Nee or I text him. So, so I'm going to let them do their own introduction, but that's kind of my own take on them, and this is probably just a fraction of all the great things I think about them. So, Susan, I'll let you go first. Just general introduction about yourself, what you currently do, and obviously what you'll be sharing with us on the panel. And then Nee, I'll let you do your own introduction after Susan. So over to you, Susan.
Great, thanks, Ty, for the great introduction. I know it's been 3 years since the last time we chatted. And next time you can call me if you feel like you're stuck, okay? Because now I feel like Nee is your favorite and not me.
All right, I may hold you. I may take you up on that. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invite to be a part of this panel and a very important topic. I wanted to maybe start my introduction by sharing with everyone that my family moved from China to the US when I was 10 years old. I actually grew up in Hawaii, right? I was in Hawaii up until, graduating from college and then finally landing an opportunity with IBM. That is really where my IT career started. Just like anything else, if there's an opportunity that comes along, right, no one wants to do it, you raise your hand and you get it. And that was really my entry point into security. I am really looking forward to talking through different topics in how to get into security and the different areas within the discipline. It is really true that there's a place in security for everyone. So really looking forward to talking through those topics with the group here.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, and my name is Nee. Like Susan, similar. My family moved to the United States from Cambodia when I was 8 years old. We lived in Pennsylvania for a while. I was always curious with data since I was younger. I studied mathematics and did well in that area. I went to school for economics, mathematics, and actuarial science. I started my career as an actuary. I liked it a lot. I liked the risk management side of the place, but I was more fascinated with technology than I was with the actual job of assessing risk, pricing them, and going through all the various aspects of the actuarial profession. So I decided to take a leap forward to try out technology, and then with Sarbanes-Oxley and a whole slew of compliance area. The role of information security, cybersecurity, and data became more critical. So I started migrating in that area, and just ever since, just tried out a lot of different roles within the information security space.
That is excellent. That is the shortest introduction that Nee has done of himself. So I'm pretty impressed. All right, excellent. Thank you. Okay, so let's dive right into the panel. That we have basically 6 questions. The last question actually has, I guess, several parts. So I'm gonna, we have 30 minutes to kind of discuss this question. So I would say we'll probably have an average of maybe 4 minutes. So the responses, I would say, shouldn't be more than maybe 2 minutes for us to be able to get through this question. So I'll be asking you the questions and then just provide your insight for 2 minutes for each question. So let's start with the first one. what are the different roles and domains within cybersecurity, based on your experience? So if you just give us like, what are the different roles and domains, without getting into like the technical weeds, and what advice do you have for progressing within cybersecurity? So I guess that's the first part of the question for number one. And then the second part is there a preferred educational path, degree, or certification for cybersecurity? So what I'm actually going to do, just to make that a little bit easy for you, is actually share my screen because it's probably going to be hard to, if you're like me, you're probably not going to remember the first statement. So I'm sharing my screen to make that easy. So Susan,
Sure.
If I can pick on you for the first question.
Yeah, I'm happy to. And thank you. That's a great idea. So we can see those questions so we won't miss a part of it. So I appreciate that. So there is a place for everyone in security, as we mentioned earlier. If you are into technical work, if you're into process engineering type of work, if you want it to be internal facing or external facing, right? There's a place for everyone. From a technical perspective, if you enjoy getting into the details and get your hands dirty, there are roles for logging and monitoring. Just giving you a few examples: application penetration testing, network penetration testing, right? These are very technical roles that will require your understanding of network, the routing, the switching, the components of a network, and then being able to recognize traffic patterns, to be able to identify not just attacks, not just specific attacks, but campaigns that may be launched against an organization. So that is the technical piece. If you are into, audit, compliance, the PCI and SOC audit may be a good place for you, where you get to learn about a set of very important control objectives and being able to assist your organization in vetting, assessing your posture, right? If you prefer to be internal facing, there are roles where you will work with your product teams, your engineering teams, to help build security and compliance requirements into our products and services. Okay, and if you are the type who enjoys, working with clients, there's certainly, a role like that as well in most organizations, whereby you will be interacting with clients to help represent your organization's security policies and procedures and practices to your clients. And that may include completing questionnaires, as well as hosting your clients for audits, right? So these are just a few of the areas that you can, think about in terms of match to your interests. As far as the type of education to get into security, now I am all about higher education and formalized education. But I must say that through my personal experiences, security is one of those fields that you can actually learn about the trade and be pretty successful in it. One certification that I would recommend is the CISSP, the Certified Information System Security Professional certification. That certification, by going through the process, it will provide you with a view on the different security domains and help you, get to a level of understanding that will equip you pretty well for most security jobs. And I remember one of my mentors mentioned to me early on in my security career, saying that you might as well shoot for the star, right? Don't worry about studying for A+ or other, maybe more the smaller exams. Shoot for the star. Get to spend your time in studying something that will really, add value at the end.
Excellent. Thanks, Susan. I like the fact that you said, even though you're for education, it's not an absoluteness. It's not mandatory that you actually have a formal education. I really, really like that. Especially if we're going to diversify our industry. I think that point you made is very, very critical. So just quick housekeeping. If you have any questions, please post that to the Q&A for any of our panelists. If you have a general question, that you'd like for them both to tackle during the Q&A that Sharon Burgess will be moderating, just put that in the Q&A area of the session. We also have a survey, so there'll be a survey link posted to the chat that I would really, really appreciate, if you can fill out in the spirit of continuous improvement. We're obviously trying to get better. We started the Engage series beginning of the year, and we're looking to make it better. So any feedback, constructive feedback you can provide would be greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for that response, Susan. But you said a lot. There's a lot there, a lot to unpack. Nee, what are your thoughts in regards to question 1?
Yeah, I think to add on some of the points that Susan had incorporated, I think areas like physical security could be a consideration depending on the domain. And I think also like there's always higher growth asymmetric areas that are like blockchain, artificial intelligence. Those are important that engineering always needs some form of security review, some of the layers that goes into it. In terms of the preferred education path, I think it's good to, it depends on like how much of the coverage area you like and what your comfort areas in terms of applying for the various roles. Different industry, different employers, they have different preferences. So some may prefer a traditional path, some may prefer and be open-minded to selecting hiring from a non-traditional path. So I think it's important to invest in yourself. I think it's important to gain knowledge and skills from a variety of areas and as many areas you can to make yourself as employable as possible. And you just never know. I mean, the world, you always run into people and there's always opportunities around that. So I think that's probably, I think the most important thing is to invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this is why I consider Nee a mentor. That's always the number one advice he gives me when I'm stuck, and I call him, invest in yourself. As like a true mentor, he's giving you that advice at no cost, like it does for me. So that's even though, I may sound like I'm joking about that. That's really, really important. Like no one can make an investment in you better than you can. And investment doesn't mean spending money. It means spending time and taking the initiative, being driven to put in the effort, right? So that really, really resonates with me. All right, so we're going to move on to the next question. I know we still have 5 more. So how important are soft skills? Actually, I do have it on here, so I don't have to read the paper. How important are soft skills like public speaking, writing, negotiation, and emotional IQ, or I guess emotional intelligence, etc.? So would somebody like to take that first?
I'm happy to.
Go ahead, Susan.
Please, Susan.
Yeah, so I think soft skills are, important, especially given a function like security that is a lot of times a centralized function, right? A centralized function that covers controls across the different environments, whereby you have controls that mandates the engineering team to do things a certain way. And you have controls, across the business units that they need to adhere to. And also other areas, marketing and other areas. So it's really important to have good soft skills and communication skills whereby you can clearly articulate the requirements and, being able to have good skills around influencing people to have them help you deliver to your objectives would also be important, especially for those people who may not necessarily you have direct authority over, right? You don't manage their day-to-day. So it's good to have these, good soft skills around communications, leadership, and ability to influence.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think if you like money, need money, or desire to make more money, I think it's statistically proven that people with additional soft skills tend to make a little bit more than people with just pure technical skills. I think it's important in general to gain as many areas and improve your soft skill as you get older and mature throughout your career in life.
So the common theme here is with those soft skills, you can influence. And I think, Nee, you spoke like a true actuarian, if I pronounce that well, by saying the stats actually shows that people with soft skills make more money. So, no matter how much the technical skills are, there's really no substitute for your soft skills. Technical skills you can learn. Soft skills you can learn, but it's got to be, to some extent, it's got to be in your nature, right? If you, just by nature, if you lack soft skills, it's going to be very hard to at least move into a leadership role in this industry. There may still be a place for you. You may be an engineer and they lock you up in some basement and they never want you to see the customers and talk to the customers or see the light of day. But that doesn't get you far up the chain, right? Very few companies have opportunities for people to become like fellows in engineering or lead engineer, where they have as much influence as the C-level. So to progress in this industry, especially if you're pursuing the leadership path, you have to have those soft skills. So I just wanted to add that, but your points are very, very well taken and very, very, I think they're spot on. All right, so question number 3. What do you enjoy the most about your job? And what has been the most challenging aspect of your job?
Susan, you want to start?
Sure, I'm happy to.
Where do I start?
I really enjoy the aspect of my job where I get to work on different things, right? Because security, is a very broad topic and it does involve different domains, and all of the domains really applies to the different functions within the organization. So not only, I get to work on a variety of different things, but I also get to interact with people across the different groups. So that, to me, is the most enjoyable part of my job. And I also like challenges as well. I guess in my career, I would say that the most challenging time in my career was really during the time in which we were helping the company transform after, a major breach, right? And as you can imagine, having to make critical decisions under tremendous pressure. And a lot of times when you have a major breach like the one that I've gone through, it's not something that you can practice enough and be ready, right? Every breach may be different. So I think that time in my career was the most challenging, but also the most rewarding. And definitely learned a lot. And that was one of the reasons why actually that I decided to take what I learned and apply it in a bigger and more impactful way by joining the company that I'm working for today, Fiserv. As you all are aware, that Fiserv is Fiserv is a fintech. So we provide product and services to help run a bank's organizations. And we are considered to be one of the country's critical infrastructures. So it's just, a lot of good problems to solve, right, for our clients. And that is also another aspect where I really enjoy about my job.
Wow, I didn't even realize you were still there during the breach. I thought you were long gone. So, wow, that's like baptism by fire. I can really, really relate to that. It's funny you mentioned, so the company we're talking about, we're not meaning to shame any companies here, is Equifax, right? So Susan was at Equifax at that time. And I remember when the news broke and I'm like, I hope Susan is no longer at that place, because I could just imagine how crazy and how much pressure the security team would be under. But you mentioned Fiserv as well. When I was at the Federal Reserve, Fiserv was one of our major service providers. So I actually remember one of my team members spending a lot of time with the Fiserv folks. Little did I know that Suzanne had actually joined them at the time. on due diligence, regarding some of the products they were offering to the Fed. So it's very interesting. It's such a small industry, right? And obviously there's such a demand. I think they were estimating 3.5 million on-field jobs, but even if you said current security people all over the world is maybe 1 million security practitioners, we're probably maybe 2 connections away from each other. Like, it's such a close-knit industry. And so that's why it's always very good to collaborate and obviously build relationships and nurture those relationships. So I don't know where that came from, but I felt like I kind of snuck in a question that I, as the moderator, answered there. So Ni, I want to get your perspective on the question, the number 3 question. What do you enjoy most about your job? Yours is a little bit different because you're kind of you work for yourself, but yeah, there's challenges as well.
Yeah, I've had full-time responsibilities, and I think there are definitely pros and cons to working for someone and working for yourself, or building a business structure and things like that. So I think a part of it is you have to satisfy a lot of different constituents. You have a lot of different stakeholders, and you'll not only have that for that specific client, but you may be juggling maybe 5 or 6 accounts at the same time. So you have different events that go on. I think the benefit of it is that the job also enables me to travel to 48 contiguous states, which is a huge benefit. I think the first time going through it, was a very exciting, positive experience. I learned a lot through the travels. I think part of the challenge with any job is satisfying people with different personalities, needs, expectations, and maybe you have different opinions, but at the end of the day, you always have to remember they're in the leadership role, and it's their expectation. It's not like they're asking you to do anything that's immoral, unethical, or those types of things. I think some of the challenges I've had is working in the space through September 11th. That was very challenging for working at a transportation company, working at a real estate investment trust during the real estate collapse, working for a financial institution that went through a quantitative easing process. That's always, there's always a lot going on. So I think there's always a lot to learn and grow from the job. And I think what's nice about the cybersecurity place, the career, it's transferable, it's market transferable skills.
Nice. Okay. All right. Moving on to question number 4. How important has diversity been in your career? Sorry, I was trying to hide question 5. In your cybersecurity career, so how important has diversity been? Just kind of set the tone for that. We've obviously seen a lot of anti-Asian sentiment, as well as racism over the past couple of years. We've seen it increase. Obviously, the event in Atlanta, horrific event in Atlanta, has just been obviously national headlines and international headlines. So from your perspective, not only as immigrants, but also as being minorities, what do you see as, for cybersecurity, in terms of building a career in cybersecurity, what do you see as the importance of diversity?
You want me to go, or do you want Susan?
Sure. Go for it.
Okay.
One at a time.
I think diversity is very important, and I've seen different dichotomy in that. When I was doing more of the technical role, I saw more minorities in my peers, and as I progressed in my career to more of a leadership role running security organizations, I see fewer and fewer diversity. So I think it's important. I think this is a great organization. It's a great opportunity for us to carry that message and to encourage and motivate other people, other minorities, to take on leadership role and to be able to contribute. And I think it's important to build their skills that they have.
Susan?
Yeah, so I completely agree with me. Diversity is always important in everything we do. I believe that we all bring our level of experiences and perspectives. Essentially, we all kind of help to build out this puzzle, right? I may be good with strategy, but I may need someone with strong execution skills to help implement the controls. We may need someone who is strong in client interfacing to help represent our strategies and programs to clients. So, I feel like we all have a piece of the puzzle that we're gonna all work together to put it in place. So I remember that when I started my career with IBM, I was part of their global services organization. My responsibility was to help build out data centers. So that include configuring routers, switches, and patching up all the racks, right? And as you can imagine, I think at that time, it's really still very much a male-dominated space. But for some reason, I never saw it as that. I always believe in putting in the hard work and just believe and trust that the hard work would pay off. And even till today, I still kind of reminding myself that the philosophy. So one advice I would give is to not be afraid to take on accountabilities and go the extra mile to get the work done. I think you will find that you will be rewarded with career advancements or flexibilities at your work, right? This is something that I share with my team very often, which is that we all have our own unique career objectives. Some of us would like to be leaders. Some of us are happy to kind of be in the background, be number two, and nothing wrong with that. I think it's really important to know what you want and what you don't want, and always work hard in everything that you do.
Excellent, excellent. Nee, did we? Yeah, you did. You went first. Okay, perfect. All right, so this is a good segue to the second question. So do you feel that there's enough diversity in cybersecurity leadership? So we're not talking about cybersecurity as a whole. Let's focus on let's say US, in the US. And then the follow-on question is, how important is it to encourage more Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders to take a leadership role within cybersecurity?
Susan, do you want to segment on that? Since
Feel free to go ahead, me.
Okay,
Ty said we shouldn't fight over who's gonna go get to go next.
Gotcha. So I'll do it. In terms of the enough diversity in cybersecurity leadership, I think generally and most likely statistically, I believe there's probably not enough diversity. I think people of different background, culture, and they bring a unique view. And I think that the more I get involved in running businesses at the highest level, the more I realize how the board members, the various committees, subcommittees of the board, and from an investor perspective, a lot of them maybe solve the current problem, but I think to make money in general, you have to solve problems, and you have to solve large problems. And I think that you're compensated based on solving problems. So I think a lot of the CISOs and CSOs out there, they're trying to pack a deck or a presentation or present things that are current state, and they're doing roadmaps, but they're looking at it more of a traditional, and they're not looking at it maybe different ideas to be able to solve problems. So I think having diversity and inclusion, and I think it's very important. And I think there are a number of Asian Americans that are in the leadership role within the cybersecurity, but I think they're few compared to others. So I definitely think, and I would definitely encourage others to pursue that if they have the opportunity.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah. So so it's interesting, and so I believe that at the end of the day, your career objectives should be centered around what you enjoy doing and the impact that you like to have, right? Like we mentioned earlier, it's really important to figure out what is it that you like doing and what you don't like doing. I can tell you that I have members on my team, if I am to put him or her in a management role, they will quit on me because that's not what they wanted to do. They don't want to have management responsibilities over a team. So I think that it's really important to, have these honest kind of discussions, right, on what type of work you enjoy doing and how you like to kind of spend your time. But bottom line, I think, is that you should always do your best in everything you do, because like me said, solving problems, right, and adding value is where you will be able to be rewarded, whether that is advancement, pay increase, or more flexibilities in your workplace. Meaning, okay, Susan, she does a great job, but I also understand that she doesn't want to step into a management role where she would have responsibilities to watch after a group. But I know that being able to provide her with time off every other week is really important so that she can spend time with her kids. So by working hard and adding value, that is how you will be able to earn, right, those flexibilities that you need. That's really important to you. And I do encourage more diversity and inclusion in the security field. And I think sometimes it may be a culture thing. I know when I started my career, I'm more bashful, right? Like I'm more shy. I was more shy in stepping up to take on additional responsibilities, although I know how to execute. So I would encourage everyone to, to step up and just don't be afraid to, do more and take on more. I think value, being able to demonstrate that you provide value is important in your career path and growth.
Excellent, excellent. So that touching on that quickly on that point of diversity, what I always tell people is, in cybersecurity, in general, we have the good side and the bad side, right? So the bad side would be the bad actors, doing criminal things, doing bad things, depending on if it's a state actor, it's debatable whether in their view it's bad or good. But in general, just using those skill set for bad is the way I kind of classify bad actors. If you look at on the other side, they have people from every culture, every race, every nationality, every creed, every country in the world. And on our side, maybe we have half of that. And you wonder why we're losing the battle. We always say cybersecurity is people, process, technology. On the people side, we suck as an industry. And this is, I'm speaking as an industry veteran. I've been in the industry 24 years. If we're not as diverse as they are, we don't stand a chance. So that's always what I say. Diversity is something we absolutely have to have, and especially at the leadership level. Susan, I completely get your point. Not everybody wants to be a cybersecurity leader or CISO or a VP like you, but you can lead. There's different ways to lead. You can lead at the top or you can lead up. You can have so much influence, going back to the soft skills. I've been in roles where I was able to influence people 3-4 levels above me, up to like the chief executive of the organization. So leadership in my mind doesn't necessarily mean having the title of CISO or CIO. It really just means having influence, right? So just to kind of clarify that, for those who may not want to be in the C level, you don't have to be in the C level to have influence on the C level. Your work, even if you're just an engineer, you think you're just an engineer, your work could potentially impact the CEO. And the CEO potentially could stay out of jail and the headlines because of the work you do. But you've got to be able to demonstrate that leadership. So that leadership could also be thought leadership, and about how you're helping the company navigate cybersecurity risks. So I just wanted to just say that to emphasize both your points about cyber leadership. All right.
That's well said, Ty. That's well said. You're right. Doesn't matter which area of your focus, we're all leaders, right? We all have our responsibilities to make sure that your area of delivery is addressed in a way that would protect the organization and ultimately contribute to the success of the organization. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on that.
I mean, I know you guys are very much aligned with that thinking. So I wanted to emphasize that to the audience. All right, so last question. This is kind of, I would say, your parting thoughts, to sum up your parting thoughts. So what would be your personal call to action? So for instance, what can organizations do to encourage cyber workforce diversity? So is it mentoring, coaching programs? Is it training programs? Is it encouraging and building inclusive culture, offering scholarships? I mean, I've personally been involved in every single aspect of this, but what could they be doing more of in related to these areas? So I'll give you 2 minutes each to say that. We've got a lot of questions in the Q&A, so I'm also very, very eager for you to respond to the Q&A question. So who wants to go first? Question number 6.
I guess I could take it.
Sure.
For me, in terms of my personal experience, I've seen a lot, and I've benefited from some of them as well. The mentoring coaching, I think it's very important. I think it's really important to find a variety. I think each individual should build their own board of directors and get advice from a variety and diverse group of individuals that have different experience and views on just a career in general, making sure that your ladder is on the right wall and things like that, or you're learning, or just holding you accountable. I think it's good. The various training programs can come from a variety. I like free ones for me personally. I think there are plenty of free ones out there. But then, if you're sponsored by a company that has a budget, I think it's good to take advantage of it. I think for the third one, encouraging and building the inclusive culture, I think from the Asian perspective, there may not be as strong from that area. I think in terms of information security in general, I don't think we as a profession have really put it out there in terms of being able to do the pieces. Scholarship programs, I think are definitely important and vital to the success and the growth of our profession. So, and I don't know how much time we have there, but I think I've taken close to 2 minutes, so I'll turn it over to Susan.
Thank you, Nee. I have also benefited a lot from the different programs that were all offered by my employer and people who I have reached out to because I wanted to learn from them. So don't be afraid if you see someone on a job that you really wanted to kind of be like them one day, reach out to them. Even if you are, on LinkedIn, right? And you do a search on a job title and you learn that, hey, this person, looks like they're in a position where I like to be in the future and they're connected to me. Well, maybe Nee can help me get connected to that person and maybe that person can mentor me, right? So don't be afraid to ask a question. It's, I think the worst thing is that they will say no, but a lot of times when you reach out to people to help mentor you and guide you, they're very flattered and they were more than happy to help. I remember when I worked for IBM, they had an amazing training program. So every year you get to, spend 3 weeks learning about a topic, and also they pay for all the certifications and also these free trainings, online trainings. So take advantage of anything that's offered to you, right? And there are a lot of free trainings now online that you can really search up and learn about security. Like we mentioned earlier, you don't really need a formal education to get into the different areas of security. You just need to go out there and absorb and learn those materials. And I would encourage anyone. I mean, I'm here to help. So if you wanted to get connected on LinkedIn, happy to chat and answer any additional questions you may have after this.
So you heard that. So when I was a security analyst, actually engineer, way back when I had more hair, I've never had a VP on a webinar. We didn't have a lot of webinars back then, but let's say at a conference, say, feel free to reach out to me. We didn't have LinkedIn in those days. So you've had Suzanne say, reach out. I'm going to say that again on her behalf. Please reach out if you need help. Or guidance. So obviously within reason, we're all busy. So just obviously be respectful of everybody's time. So, but thank you so much for that, Susan, and thank you, Nee. All right, so I think normally we have 15 minutes of Q&A. I think we maybe have a little bit over 10 minutes unless we go maybe 5 minutes over. So I'll hand it over to you, Sharon, to handle the Q&A for us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ty. Thank you, Susan and Nee. There have been a number of questions that have come in, so I'll try to bundle them together to give you guys the ability to answer them. One question that came in was that I've heard that cybersecurity has a high burnout rate. Why do you believe that is true? And is there anything that a leader can do to help manage that in their teams?
I can start. I think in general, if you're passionate and you like what you do, you enjoy, I think the probability of burnout is a little bit less. And also it's a function of hours and stress, the demand, and the amount of I think pressure the job has. I think it's important for leaders to consider work-life balance and also to consider someone's skill set, where they're at and how much they can handle, and what's reasonable. And everyone's a little bit different. And I think it's important for leaders to recognize this and to work. And also, I think sometimes people just have a lot going on, just like in terms of the pandemic and things like other events in their lives. And I think it's great if leaders can be cognizant and aware and sensitive to and empathetic to some of these cases.
Yeah. I think Nee covered it well, but maybe I'll just add one point to that, is that communications is really important with your manager, right? So that you are raising your hands when you need help, and when you need help to prioritize your work. I know that a lot of us are high performers and we like to get everything done, everything done today, right? I think a lot of it is just, on a personal end, having personal awareness and being able to kind of manage, having, good EQ, right? And know when to ask for help.
Thank you for that. Another set of questions is around, I guess I'm gonna paraphrase this a little bit. Beyond what you see in the job descriptions, what kinds of capabilities or skills are you looking for when you're hiring new people into your teams? What are leaders, or what should leaders be looking for? And then what are potential job candidates should they be able to demonstrate beyond just the wording that's in the job description that you feel would be helpful?
I can take this one, Nee. So I think that back to a comment that Ty mentioned earlier, which is around technical skills. You can learn technical skills. For me as a leader, the most important attribute that I look for in a candidate is their willingness to learn and not give up until they get it, right? So to me, that is the single most important attribute.
And I always look for additional skill sets. Like, so I'm hiring two positions right now for one of the educational companies, and so I'm hiring a risk analyst, right? Someone to evaluate. But then I'm looking at, okay, what else can this person do for me? What else can I get out of them in terms of skills? And then also you're looking for free thoughts and opinion. At the end of the day, they're there already, right? So what can you do to pick their brains to help you to grow? And even though you may think, oh, well, they might be like a senior consultant or a staff, or you're hiring someone at a manager level, and I'm always thinking, well, what else can I learn from them? There's always opportunities to learn too, even from where I am.
Great. And maybe as a piggyback onto that, if there are candidates who are applying for jobs, but they're not getting interviews, what do you think contributes to that? And how can individuals, get to at least that interview spot? What do you think would help distinguish them and make them easier to be picked up by hiring managers?
I think it's really important to take the time to really understand what the position is asking for, right? And then also like adjust your resume a little bit to hit on those key points. Okay, and then I really like it when I see a candidate who takes the time to write the cover letter, to kind of showcase a little bit of their personality and what is important to them, and how they may be able to provide additional value. So I think those two things are really important. One, really understanding what the employer is looking for, adjusting your resumes to hit those points, and then the cover letter is really your way of being able to add additional color to who you are.
Yeah, and I think also network is very important to try to figure out what and learn a little bit more about the company, the roles, the individuals who are doing the hiring. I think social skills are important, and also to Susan's point, getting around the bots, the resume bots, the recruiters, and things like that. I think customizing the resumes to fit that and being able to defend it, and I think it's preparation also. It's important.
And one little, I guess, shameless plug, we will also be putting out an ICMCP Engagement event that will be highlighting recruiters. So it'll be a panel discussion with recruiters, and they'll give you some of their thoughts as well on, what they're looking for and, how to distinguish yourself. So I think our target for that is in the month of July. So please be on the lookout for that, and some additional tips and tricks. There's a couple of questions around, well, how do you stay relevant? How do you stay up to date with what's happening in cybersecurity? What are some of the ideas that you have around that?
I think of problems, what's currently happening, current state, and what are some of the potential solutions. So I read a lot. I can't. I think I don't know how many hours I spend reading on a daily basis, but I do go through a lot, whether it's traditional books or the internet or blogs or content written by different vendors. So I go through and I meet a lot of people. LinkedIn is a good source too. LinkedIn provides a lot. So I subscribe to a lot of different ones. And I think it's good to just have another email address that you don't really use and it just gets dumped into and you can filter it.
Yeah, I agree. Keeping up with the current events and doing, reading, making sure that you know what is going on at the moment, but also looking ahead on some of the emerging technologies and how that may change the way of life for all of us, and how does it apply to security, right? I think those are really kind of important areas to consider.
I do want to pick up on something that you both mentioned is, it's not to become a cybersecurity professional, practitioner, or even a leader, you don't fall into it. And, it requires for you to be studied and for you to read a lot. And I agree with you on that, Nee, that, just reading the articles and seeing what's going on, or, it was so interesting for my own perspective that my dad is the one who called me about the colonial ransomware thing, right? So those kinds of things, just, picking those things up and reading what's going on just generally in society and how that impacts you on a day-to-day basis. These are the ways that you can also apply these security type skills, analyst type skills, and practice them on a day-to-day basis. There's a number of other questions kind of lumped together around people who are transitioning. Either they're not quite in security or they're brand new, analyst levels. What kind of guidance or advice can you give for those who are transitioning into security, may be in non-security roles today, but want to transition in? What kind of guidance and advice can you give to them?
I think invest in yourself, network, learn the areas that you're interested, try them out. Don't be afraid to try it and fail. It's okay. I think the concept of like getting fired, laid off, or outsourced or moved because of skill set or things like that. I think in general, if you work hard and you try your best and it's not a fit, it's good to have those conversations with your hiring manager. And I think the younger, the earlier that you have these kind of conversations, the more comfortable you begin to feel. And I think the faster you can transition to career and area that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I agree all of that that Nee said, and also maybe another area is to look into getting a certification, right? Because that not only will help you get the knowledge you need, but having that certification will also buy you some credibility as well.
Very good. I also want to highlight one point to that. A couple of things that you will see for ICMCP from a strategic standpoint, and this also gets to another question. We encourage you to do two things, is to look at cyberseek.org, and I can pull up a visual of that, but it gives you an idea of the types of jobs, the concentration of open jobs by state here in the US, and gives you an idea of the types of job titles and the openings and the prerequisites for that. In addition to that, many of you guys may be familiar with the NICE framework that has come out that outlines the tasks, the skills, the knowledge, capabilities that align to those job roles. For those who are transitioning new into security, or even those who are in security today and want to level up, it helps to give it helps to highlight some of the skills that you need as you go through. For ICMCP members, we have partnered with Competency Core to help with that skills and gap assessment. So if you're starting as a help desk technician, or you're transitioning from project management, for example, you don't have to start over to be in cybersecurity. Leverage those skills, just as a point that both Nee and Susan brought up. They're looking for intangibles. It's great that you have the certifications and the like, but if you also have some other skills and we can have conversation and you can help solve problems, it's good to be able to leverage that. So I encourage for you to look at cyberseek.org and also to look at the NICE framework as well. So with that, I think we're very close to time. Nee, Susan, any last words, advice that you'd like to give our audience?
I think since we're a little bit short on time, I think like to Susan's point, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help answer any questions or help provide any guidance.
Yeah, and can you guys hear me okay still?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So I would leave you with a sentiment that we all have the power to create the life we desire, and forget the mistakes and remember the lessons, and just don't be afraid. Just go for it. Shoot for the star.
Awesome. Well, Nee, Susan, Ty, thank you all so much for your contributions in this conversation that we've had today. Thank you to all of our participants and our attendees. Again, we love to have you in ICMCP if you're already a member. If not, then please join us and join our membership. We are working to make changes across the industry. I'm sorry, there was one other question around that, where we are advocating with companies, with recruiters, with hiring managers to align them so that they know what types of skills they should be looking for, and not just an entry-level person with a CISSP. Those don't exist, right? Not realistically. And so how do we refactor that within the industry to make it easier for entry-level and for those who are transitioning to be successful in the role? So with that, I want to thank you guys for your time today. Thank you to all of our attendees and to, of course, to our panelists, and have a great rest of your day. And again, please check out the survey that's in the chat. We'd love to get your feedback, other topics, other ideas that you have for these type of engagement in events. So with that, thank you all and have a great rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you all. Thank you, Nee. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Sharon. Thanks for
you.
All right,
great insights. Excellent. Thank you so much.